Hello, today we're going to be making Flopper from Fortnite. That's right. And we're going to be using some high definition shapes, so it's going to be a little bit different than usual because it's going to be some wait time when you're making this, so just be ready for that. So let's get started. The first part we're going to do is the body. And for the body, we're not going to go with the sphere. We're going to go with an HD sphere. So you do a search, type in HD space and sphere. I have a little star there because it's one of my favorites. I go to it a lot. So I'm going to click and drag it over here. And of course, you have to maximize the resolution to actually get the high definition benefits. So I'm going to zoom in. Okay. Now here are the dimensions I used for the fish. I'm going to start with 39. All right. Whoa, makes it too big. And going across here, it's going to be 52. And the depth, meaning going away from me, that's how I'm going to define depth for the whole rest of the video. So be ready for that. There we go. So that right there is the fish. But here's the part where it gets a little bit confusing. So make sure you do this next part without clicking on anything else. Like right now, it's fine, right? But as soon as you click this, you need to make sure that you don't click on anything else. So right now I'm going to duplicate. So Control D. Okay. Now I'm going to hit the Shift button and then drag this down. Actually, before I do that, I am going to click down here where it says Snap Grid. Let me change that to 1 just because it makes it easier to move this down. So again, before I move it down, Shift, and then it goes down by 1. It was 39. There's another one in here that's 38. That's fine. Now with my arrow keys on the keyboard, I'm going to move it to the right 1 time. Okay, so there. Now I'm going to change the snap grid. Again, still selected. I'm going to click on the snap grid and go 0.25. Now with my command and arrow key, I'm going to move it up by 0.25. See down here where it's 0.25, I'm going to command key or control. And then I'm going to move the arrow key. I'm going to move the arrow key once up. There. Now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit Control or Command D, depending on your computer. And it's going to duplicate and move it down. You ready? So I'm going to do this about 40 times. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I'm going to keep on going just to be sure. Okay, so I did it more like 50 times. But that's the beginning of our fish. Now, why are we doing this? First of all, if you look at the video of the fish, there's a smoothness to it that you can't get by doing anything else on Tinkercad, and it appears around the tail. That smoothness only happens if you have a high resolution and it's repeated over and over again. There's no other way of getting it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this a group. Actually, let's change the color to orange. Okay. Now, Control G. See how it's red? That means it's processing this thing. And this print is going to need supports just like me. And the way you can do that is by clicking like, subscribe, leaving a comment. Hey, tell me what you want me to make while we're waiting for this. Go ahead and make a comment. Say, hey, maybe I want you to make this or that. I don't know. Try something. I'm open to ideas. In fact, the best ideas have come from my students making stuff on their own. And I'm like, you know what? I think I can make that. So again, this thing is still processing and we'll just wait for it because the next thing we're going to do is the tail. And the tail is actually 2 parts. And while we're waiting for this, let's just move on to the next part. So we're going to go, this is the transition. So there's the tail and then there's the part that connects the tail to the body. Okay, we're going to make the part that connects the tail to the body. So we're going to go to the shapes library. We're going to go to shape generators. And then we're going to use the hyperboloid. There it is. So let's move this out of the way here. Okay. This is a hyperboloid. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to max the sides. Max the sides. Okay, now I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Since I want it to be part of the fish, I want it to look like that right there, 90 degrees. Let's change it to orange. See, it's going to go right here, but it's obviously not the right shape or anything. So this is the way it's going to be. 1961 right here in the height. 1961. And then, oh, did I change it right there? Let's change it right there. It's at 1961. Looks like I have a list right here. Outer radius is going to be 12.88, 12.88. The inner radius is going to be 10.42, 10.42. And the sides are already at 60. Okay, so that part's done, but let me click D. Now, if I click D, this is what happens. This is going to go up to the top right there. So see, click D. Now we're going to change the dimensions here. Now, this one should have stayed at 20, but hey, whatever. Now we're going to change it anyways. This height's going to be 17.62. And the width going across right here is going to be 13. And then the depth is going to be 2.6. So that's going back here. 2.6. And I'm going to rotate this. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to move it up. Actually, let's center it. That way we're not messing around here. I'm going to select both of these and then click the letter L, and I'm going to align it in this direction. Okay, so this is centered. I'm going to just move this up a little bit here. And then I'm going to move this closer to here. Now, just because I entered the shapes doesn't mean I actually like the way it looks, honestly. I'm going to rotate this a little bit more. Right there. That looks a little bit better. I'm going to move this up. Okay. Now, my goal here, and now if you make any kind of change, this is what I would like, for it to be smooth going in, and there's a little bit of the edge sticking out, so I'm going to move it forward with the arrow key a little bit. I think that was too much. I don't want to see that black line, so I don't see it here. Let's see if it's under here. No, it's not there. But if you notice, it's kind of high. I want it to be closer to the center. Now, here's what I've noticed. When I rotated this needs to be rotated too, so let's rotate that. And then we can move it down. So again, all we're doing is trying to get this centered. This is sticking out. What I'm going to do now, oops, Control Z. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. Just going down, not the shift, just shrink it down with the arrow key. Okay, and then rotate a little bit. Right. Okay, so, okay, that's not bad. Okay. Now we're done with this part. Here's what we're going to do for the actual tail end, because this doesn't look like a tail. Let's make the end of the tail. I'm going to go to the sphere, which I have in the HD sphere actually. I have in my favorites, so I'm going to click there. Maximize the resolution. And these are the dimensions I'm going to use. I'm going to go with a height of 12. And width of 12 right there. Now going back, I'm going to call that the depth, and that's going to be 3.6. All right, so we have like a little coin here. Okay, now we're not done. We're not done. Here's what we're going to do. Let's zoom in a little bit here so you can see what we're going to do. You can see a little bit better. Let's make it orange just to make it, done with one more step, right? Okay, so I'm going to change the snap grid right here, snap grid to 1. Now, I'm going to do the same thing I did with this one here, but with slightly different movements. So I'm going to click, actually, let me move this up, 4. Okay, there, I moved it up 4. Now I'm going to duplicate. Again, don't click on anything else. Then I'm going to hit Shift and then move this down by 1. So it's 12 right now. 11, again, not clicking on anything else. I'm going to change the snap grid to 0.25. And then I'm going to move it downward with the arrow keys. I'm going to hit Command or Control with your keyboard. And then the down arrow. Ready? Down arrow. And then I'm going to move it back or to the right just 0.25. So I'm just going to use the arrow key one time. Ready? Here it is. There. That's what it should look like. Mind you, I haven't clicked on anything. So now that Tinkercad has recorded those, I'm going to hit Control D and just keep on going till it touches the ground or it stops moving, because it will stop moving. So there we go. We're going. And you see how it's starting to slow down? It's not really going that far. There, it stopped moving. Okay, we have that. So now I'm going to group this. Now this is, again, it turned red because it's processing. While it's doing that, what we're going to do is I'm going to rotate this so that it's kind of pointing down. Right now it's pointing like if this were a clock, it's pointing like at 5 o'clock. I actually want it to be straight down. And then I'm going to duplicate and mirror it so it's pointing up, so it looks like the top and the bottom of a fish or a tail. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to rotate it. And I'm rotating it, looks like about, let's say 25. So I'm going to duplicate this, Control D. And then I'm going to mirror by clicking the letter M, pointing it up. And then I'm going to just drag it up by clicking on this, moving there. Okay, now it's starting to look more like a fish, right? So I'm going to group these two. Control G, processing. Again, we're doing a lot of high definition things here. That way you can get a smooth result. Okay, now after this becomes one piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it closer here. Okay, so in fact, I think we should just center it. So let's select everything, click the letter L, and there, everything is centered. But obviously it doesn't look very good. So let's move the tail. What we're going to do is we're going to rotate the tail. So there, that looks like about right. And then we're going to move it down. And then we're going to move it closer to the body. So I'm going to use the arrow keys. Okay, so I want you to check this out right here. Right there, there's an end, and I don't want it to be there. Is it on the other side? It is. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to hit the Shift button and then drag this up. Okay, now you can't really see that. I'm going to click the letter D so it goes down all the way. Because I raised it, the rotation's a little bit off, so I'm going to move it back down again. That's a little bit better. And what about D? It's very important that this tail be touching the ground. And you want this to be, I didn't even check if it's touching the ground. Let me see, Control, or just the letter D. Oh, okay, it wasn't. There. Very important that these things be touching the ground, because when you print this, the tail, the body, and the fins on either side are going to make it stand on its own, or lay on its own without tilting over left or right. Okay, so I'm not sure if you've ever seen the Fortnite fish very closely. I studied it in order to do this, and what I noticed is that the Fortnite tail, it actually looks like veins or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the shapes library, go to shape generator, and then click on the bent pipe, which is right there. Okay, so the bent pipe is let's focus on this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink it to 10. So I'm going to hit Shift, and I'm just going to click 10 because it's so much faster that way. Okay, now I'm going to go to the settings, or the settings. So the outer pipe width is going to be 4. There, that's good. Wall thickness is 3. Arc diameter is 30. Bend angle is going to be 33. 33. Lead in length is going to be 10.34. And that didn't do it. 10.34, much better. And the lead out is going to be 1.15. That doesn't sound right, but I'm going to have to trust my work here. So I'm going to rotate this 90. Let's see. Which rotation right here? So I want this to be over there. Well, yeah, let's just do that. Rotate it 90. And then 57 back. I believe 57. Let's see. And let's move this up. Yeah, that doesn't look right. So let's undo this. What we want is for this to go up. And let's try to get this centered right there. Okay. Our goal is to make this face that way. So let's see what we have to do to get there. That's just going to rotate it that way. And that one's good. Oh, that's the one we want. I think that's not it. Oh, right. How could I be doing each one and none of them be correct? Isn't that weird? Okay, so let's go on the outside. Maybe we'll get a better view of this. Oh, almost there. There you go. It's actually what we want. And then we want to rotate it this way. So our goal here is to try to get this in there. Now, you're like, that doesn't look like a vein. No, that's because it's missing something. And what it's missing, besides, you know, it being finished, because that's the best way to get these things done, is just to be like, oh, it's just done already for me. What we want is a sphere at the end to change the dimension. Let's max out the steps for the sphere. And then we're going to go 1.4, if I remember correctly. 1.4. Whoa. Let's move this closer. Okay, I'm going to click the letter F to zoom in. Okay, not nearly big enough. So I'm going to hit Shift. And I'm going to try to raise it. So 1.75, that's not big enough either. But it's getting closer. And actually, it might be 175. I'm going to put this at 1 so I can move it just slightly. Hey, that's not bad. But I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to hit Shift. And since I can't see the number, I'm going to move it over. 1.85. And I'm going to say that's acceptable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that sphere, duplicate, and then move it over here to the other side. That way we don't get any harsh lines. We want the thing to go in. I'm going to click the letter F to zoom in. And I'm going to use my arrow keys to move these things, and as well as for some reason this side looks like it's a little bit bigger. Weird. I'm just going to raise it so I can cover the edges. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to select these parts of the tail. By the way, I raised it to 2. Shift and Shift. I'm going to group, and then I'm going to color them orange. Oh, and this is also processing. So I think this sticks out a little bit too much, so I'm going to rotate it a little bit and then move it over. All right, that's not bad. So that's right there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, Control D. I'm going to click the letter M to mirror this, and then I'm going to drop it down. So it'll work also in the bottom one, and then I'm going to move it back. Now that I have these, I'm going to click that. So now both of these are selected. I'm going to duplicate, Control D, then the letter M. And since I want it to appear on this side, I'm going to choose the arrow that's pointing in that direction. And I'll hit Shift and the arrow key to move it faster. And it looks like it's almost there. Looks like it's a little bit higher. It's not bad. Actually, I'm going to rotate it a little bit. It's sticking out too much here and here, so oh, it's not even interesting. Oh, I see what it did. My bad. I'm going to click the letter M again and make it go that way. I think that was the issue. Oh yeah, that's much better. It was off a little bit for some reason. Don't know why. That is much better, but I'm going to move it so that this vein isn't sticking out as much. All right, looks like we're done with the tail. Tail is done. All right, so now we're going to work on the eyes. And if you've ever seen the Fortnite flopper, you've noticed that the eyes have a ring, a red ring around them. So we're going to go to, well, it's in my favorites, but you need to type out the word HD Taurus to get this one, and it's red. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So here, we're going to start with the width and depth. So both of these right here are going to be 10.59. 10.59. And then the height is going to be 3.31. Enter. Now, for these, the settings are going to be, the torus radius is going to be 10, not a problem. The sides are going to be maxed out to 64. This one here is going to be 1.5. And the tube sides are going to be maxed out at 64. Great, we got that. Now we just need to put the eyes on the fish. So this is how you would change it. You ready? You ready? Okay. We're going to rotate this here, 67.5. So I'm just going to type that, 67.5. Okay, that worked. And then rotate this 45, I believe. Now, I'm not sure this is actually going to work. We may have to rotate it again. Yeah, I think it went 45 the wrong direction. So let's move that direction. Yeah, that looks better. It's not perfect because if you notice, this part's going in before that one, so I need to be rotated just a little bit more. That's better. I rotated -3, it looks like. All right. And again, you get to mess with these afterwards and then make it look exactly the way you want to. So now with the other parts of the eyes, we're going to go with the high-res sphere. It's part of my favorites, but you would type in high-res sphere, or you can type in sphere and just find the yellow one. I totally recommend making these your favorites. That way you can get to them faster. I'm going to maximize the resolution. I'm going to change the color to white. Now here are the dimensions. Ready? Of course. It's going to be 8.46 all the way around. So I'm going to hit shift and down, 8.46. There it is. And then I'll move it right there. It's already looking like a weird fish already. Should be out a little bit more. Okay, maybe too much. All right, so now I'm going to the basic shapes in the shapes library, and I'm going to go with the half sphere. I'm going to change that to black. And here are the dimensions for this one. The height's going to be 1.69, 1.69, enter. And the width and depth are going to be the same, 3.35, 3.35, and 3.35, enter. And I'm going to use the arrow keys to move this around. I don't have the exact dimensions for this because I figured you can put it wherever you like. As for me, where did this thing go? Oh, there it is. Thought I lost it. Oh, I'm like, why is it only half the eye showing up? We're going to need to have eye surgery. Okay. And is it sticking out? It looks like it's sticking out. So always good to look at it from multiple angles, and I can just turn it this way and that way. All right. I think that's too big. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. There you go. The flopper kind of looks like it's dying. It looks like it's needing air, and the small little black dot, if it smaller you can make it, the more it looks like it's something's going wrong here. All right. So now we're going to group these things. I'm going to select this, the outer part of the eye, the white eye part, and the black one. I'm going to group them. Of course, they're going to change all one colors, but after they, turn one color, I'm going to change it to multicolor. Now what I'm going to do, because they're all selected now, aren't they all selected? Yes, they are. I'm going to hit Control D and then the letter M. I'm going to click this arrow because I'm going to go in that direction. So that one. I'm going to hit Shift and drag over there. Now I need to see over here. Okay. That looks better. All right. We're getting there. Now this next thing is going to make it look like Flopper a lot. So we're going to go with the lips. So the lips are super easy. So we're going to start with an HD Taurus. Again, it's in my favorites. It should be in yours already, which are going to make it red. Let's go ahead and make them yellow. Now, here's what you're going to do. Your settings here are going to be 10, 64, and then this one here is going to be 1. So 1, enter, and again, 64. All right. Pretty easy, right? Now, I'm going to, let's just group these. I know if I group them, it's going to be some processing time, but I'll wait. What we're going to do is after this processes and it becomes one piece, we're going to align the lips to the body. That way we know the lips are going to be centered no matter what we do. And that's kind of important when you're making a fish. They're very symmetrical, right? So this one here, while we're waiting for this to work, we're going to rotate this 22.5, this direction, right there. Okay, I'm going to move this up, and it's going to be about, I don't know, right there. Okay, so this finished processing. Let's go ahead and click the letter L and align. Ooh, I was off by a lot. I want this lip to be touching the body, so I'm just going to use the arrow key to move it over. Okay, there's that. Now I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, and I'm going to rotate it. I wonder if 22.5 is fine. Yeah, actually it's not bad. So now how you want this to look is going to be totally up to you. I am going to move it. I'm going to move the bottom one back into its body because I don't want there to be space here. When it prints, it will create some more supports and I don't want that. So I want the lips to go back, or at least the bottom lip. So there's that. All right. Now, there's still some space. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rotate this down a little bit, and then I'm going to move it up. Okay, there's still some opening. They're touching. It's actually kind of what I wanted. I want the sides of the lips to be touching. Now, my question is, do I want to do it even more? I think I will. Okay, this will be the last time I move that because they are touching enough. Now, I don't have the picture in front of me, but I believe the lips are a little bit lower. And then, again, you don't want any space between them because it'll break and you'll need extra supports. And why would you want to do that? Okay, that's fine, actually. All right, so we're done with the lips. It's starting to look a lot like Flopper. Can you feel your health getting better? That's a Fortnite joke. So now the fin. Are you ready? Are you ready for the fin? We're going to work with the sides, I believe. We're going to make the side ones. Woo. Man, this was a lot of work. So let's get started. We're going to start with again, you're in your shapes library. We want to go to the shape generator and we're going to start with the extrusion. Extrusion. Now, we're going to make it look like a jelly bean. That's jelly bean enough, I think. Now we're going to rotate this 90. Is it really 90? All right, 90 it is. One more, 90. And down. Okay. Now we're going to shrink. So the dimensions are now going to be, we're going to start with the height of 13. Hey, actually, that's making it bigger. The width is going to be 11. Oh, okay. And the depth right here is going to be 13.67. Okay. I know, it looks weird, but you're going to have to trust me. Now we're going to rotate this 45. You ready? You ready? 45, right there. For some reason, this feels like it should be taller, but I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to click the letter D to move this up a little bit. Let's move away from the fish, people. Move away from the fish. Now, Here's what we're going to do. Sorry, lost my place here. Now we're going to go to the cylinder. We're going to go to the shapes library. We're going to go basic shapes and grab the cylinder. I'm going to max out the sides because why not? Now for this one, we're going to rotate it on its side. So this way, 90 degrees. I'm going to click the letter D to make sure it's still, yeah, everything's good there. Now we're going to change the shape of this thing to the height of 29. And then a width 11.45, and then 17.7. In which case, actually, yeah, 17.7. We're good there. Now we're going to rotate this 22.5, which means when we rotate, we're going to stay inside the blue circle and just move it over to the next line. Stay inside the circle, next line. Alrighty then. Now what we're going to do is move this over. Actually, before we do, I'm sorry, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to move this over a little bit, back 45 degrees. I'm going to make it longer. Let's make that 20. Yeah, that feels better. And then we had it at 45. I'm going to change the color because I already want it to be orange. Okay. Okay, so I changed that. I'll click the letter D. Man, I have a feeling this is going to come back and bite me. So it happens. So what I want, here's what I want. Look up here. I want there to be some space right here. And then some space right. Let's look over here. All right, this is fine right here. We can handle this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to group this. Okay, Control G. And, oh, I thought it went away. Now, I made a mistake. It didn't go all the way across. So I got to undo, Control Z. I never check the other side. I'm going to hit Shift and move this over. There. Now I'm going to group these two, Control G. Now, here's the fun part. I'm not sure if you knew this, but we can make this super skinny, super easily. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to hit Control D, and then I'm going to make it a hole. I'm going to use the arrow keys to move it back. But if you noticed, it actually doesn't make that same little shape, right? So here's how we do that. I'm going to hit Shift and make this thing bigger, slightly. And then I'll move it down a little bit. All right, you see how if I were to group these two right now, we'd have a thin line here. Well, I'm going to hit Shift and then move this up because I want there to be a little bit more thickness there. And then move it over 1 degree. Move this down a little bit. Okay. I think we're good. Except for here. I'm not sure if that part's actually going to be covered. And by the looks of it, it's not. So I think I'm going to move it down a little bit. Is it covered? That part's not covered. I think this part may not be, so I'm going to move that. Okay. I think we nailed this. The important part is that everything is covered except for this thing now. That's curved, and it's great. Okay. So I'm going to group these two. Control G. All right. Now, if you happen to do this and there's like a little tiny piece over here that's still holding on, well, don't worry about it. Just get another one of these blocks and shrink it to so you can get rid of that one piece that's still there. I've seen it happen before. It happens to me sometimes, but if there's a little tiny piece that's extra, just group it again and get rid of that extra piece. I don't have one this time, which is amazing. So here's what we're going to do. Now that we have almost a fin, let me click the letter D so it goes down. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to make it shaped differently. And how do we do that? We're going to go to our shapes library. And we're good with that, right? We're good with that. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave it there. I'm going to get one of these cylinders that's a hole, maximize the size, and then I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. There. Now what I want my final shape to be based off this cylinder. So what I'm trying to do is whatever I make right here is what's going to is what's going to end up happening. So I'm going to make sure that the width is as big as I can get it. And okay, what I'm looking at is down here. Okay, I want it to be touching right there. So that's good. Now I'm going to stretch it out. And I also want it to be barely touching that. Okay, now I'm not sure if you noticed, but it doesn't go all the way over to the back. So I'm just going to use the arrow key and then move it over. Very important part. Okay. Now the other thing that I want is not necessarily that this fill it over completely. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to move it over and then move it over again. And I'm going to rotate a little bit. What I want is for it not to be a perfect oval. I want it to be some irregularity here. And you're like, we're listening to you. That's got to be irregular enough, isn't it? Yes, if you were my wife, that would be absolutely correct. So now I'm going to make this block the width of this one, which is 13.52. So this is going to be 13.52, enter. And then the width, I'm going to change it to, let's make it 9. See, this is 8.61, so I'm going to make this 9. Okay, so now I'm going to group just these two cylinders right here. Control G. Now there is a little, they're a little bit off here. Oh, I made it a lot off. Okay, so now I'm going to center this thing. Click the letter L, center. That part, sure, center too. Okay, now I'm going to group these two, just these two, trying not to get the fish in the background. So Control G. Like, what? It just made a hole there. I know. But now this thing is going to create a hole here. Check this out. I'm going to make it a hole. Aha. See, now we get to have fun. Let me center these things. I never check the height. All right, let's do this. Control, just the letter L, centered and centered. Because the fin does not have to be perfect, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna drag this up a little bit. There. Is it exactly what we wanted? No, but this is a fin. It can have imperfections. So I'm gonna group this thing, Control G. And now we have a shape that does not exist in Tinkercad, but it looks very fish-like. However, I'm missing something. I'm going to go to the shapes library. I'm going to go to the roof, and I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Is that 90? Yeah, it just doesn't look like. I'm going to click the letter D. Then I'm going to make that a hole. Is that right? No, you know what? Let's go back the way it was originally. I'm going to make this really sharp by making it like this. Now the dimensions don't matter. Just make it sharp, like almost like a knife. Okay, just make it sharp. You'll understand why in a little bit. Okay, so again, the dimensions don't matter. Just make it sharp like this, and then we're going to move it down because the fish have a little bit of separation here in their fins. Now, I just remember seeing one on this particular flopper, and I'm just gonna move it up a little bit. That way there's something there, right? Okay, now I'm gonna group it, Control G. Now, when this is done, all we're gonna do here at this point is make sure there's two things going on here. First of all, it's touching the ground, which it is, great. Next, we're gonna attach it to the side, and I'm gonna rotate slightly. That means I'm outside of the blue circle. Okay, we're good there. Actually, if I remember correctly, the fins are actually much smaller. So I'm going to just shrink this and then make it closer here. Yeah, that looks more like it. Now, so I get symmetry. I'm going to click here. I'm going to duplicate, click the letter M. And then I'm going to hit Shift and the arrow key. Now, the reason I use the arrow key here is because I want it to be in the exact same location as the one on the right. And if I use the mouse, I might drag it out of location. So now we have a fish. Now, besides it being part of the fish, we have 4 points. We have the center, right fin, left fin, and the tail, which means now this thing, when it's printed and you're done, it will stand up on its own. That's going to be cool. You can just put this anywhere and be like, yeah, I'm not worried about it falling over. I trained it. You can be like, sit, and it's sitting there. And you say, stay, and it stays there. And you say, play dead, and it plays dead. This is a perfect fish. All right, now we're going to do the top fin, which is pretty neat because it's a very similar thing to what we did with the fin. We're actually going to be creating a shape that does not exist in Tinkercad. So first step is we're going to get a roof from the basic shapes, and we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. And let's go ahead and change the color to orange. Now, there, okay. We're going to change the height to 21.41. We're going to change this part right here, the front part, 11.65, 11.65, and then 34.56 there. All right, so that's going to be our fin, but we need to make it so it looks a little bit fishy. That's right, more like a fin. So to do that, we're going to start off with this cylinder in the basic shapes area. We're going to maximize the sides, and then we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Now we're going to change the dimensions of this thing to a height of, what's the height? 31.08. And the width, this right here, is going to be 10.81. And then we're going to make this 50 deep. All right, so now we're going to rotate this. Wow, doesn't that look like it's off by a little bit? So let's rotate this 10 degrees right there. Now we may have to move this down depending on how these two interact with each other. And yeah, we're gonna move it down a slight bit. Let's just say negative 0.75, negative 1.75. Now this right here is too close. This is what I'm going to be looking at the top and at the bottom. I'm going to make sure that I have some material up here. Okay, and that's right there. That's fine. So I do want some to be sticking out right there. Now I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, click the letter M, and then I'm going to make it go that direction. I'm going to use the arrow key on my keyboard to move this over. I'm going to hit Shift and the arrow key. That way it goes much faster. But obviously it's not symmetrical here. I want it to be one more. There. No, almost there. There. All right. So now I'm going to group these things. Control G right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this shape. I'm going to hit duplicate to make the next shape. So I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees and make it stand up there. I'm going to bring in a cube, and I want the cube to be just slightly taller than this. So let's make this 22. And let's make this 50. We're going to make this right here a hole by clicking the letter H, and then we're going to group these two. So click the letter L here and there. Actually, no, it should be here. Very important. Not at the center, but at the very top. Why? Because now we get this right here. They are perfectly aligned at the edge. So I'm going to group these two, Control G. And this is now, I'm going to make that into a hole by clicking the letter H. Now I'm going to duplicate this one right here, Control D, and then I'm going to click M for mirror. And then I'm going to hit Shift and the arrow key to move it over here. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click the letter W. Mind you, this is selected. Make sure that yours is selected before you click the letter W. I'm going to click the letter W, and I want to get this edge right there. Now I'm going to click the letter D, which is going to make this one stick right next to that one, right there. I'm going to click the letter W again, and then click on the work plane. Nice. So, whoa, I accidentally did that. I'm going to group these two. And then Actually, let's, yeah, I'll group it, Control G, and then I'm going to align these two. Click the letter L, centered and centered. All right. That's not bad. Although I'm going to ungroup these now that I know what the center is. I'm going to click on this one, move it over 1, 2, this one 1, 2. All right, that's not bad. All right, so that's good. And I'm going to group, Control G. So now I have this odd looking shape, right? But it's getting more natural looking. Here's what we're going to do next. We're going to get a cube again. I'm going to raise it up to 30. And then I'm going to get a cylinder. I'm going to rotate it after I maximize the sides, of course. Rotate it to 90 degrees and rotate it again another 90. Because this one, let's move this right here out of the way for a second. I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to drag it up just slightly past center. Ooh, let's make this one a little bit wider too. 35 should be fine. Okay, so it's great up here, but down here there's a little bit of an edge that's sticking out. I'm going to move it down with the arrow key. All right, that's fine. I'm going to group these two. Control G. I'm going to make that a hole by clicking the letter H. Now what this is going to do, actually, sorry, let me undo this because I forgot something. There. Let's duplicate this cylinder. I'm going to use it later. Now group, because I don't want to make another one. Why do another one, right? Click the letter H, and then I'm going to duplicate this one too, because I'm going to use that one later over here. So let's go over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create a curve here. And I'm just rotating this, let's say 35 degrees, and oh, that's not bad. So 35 degrees, great. I'm going to group these two, Control G. Now I'm going to bring this one over, and I'm going to bring it down. Here's what I'm looking for. I want a curve that starts at the bottom and ends at the top. So let's see if I can just bring this down a few degrees, and it's almost there. It's a little bit too much here, so I'm going to move it to the right a little bit with the arrow keys. And that's acceptable to me. I'm going to group this. Now I'm going to use this one right here to create another indentation here. Okay, so I'm going to rotate. Actually, let's just bring it over here and rotate. And then move it up again. That's not bad, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to distort this a little bit because I don't want it to be too perfect. I want it to be a little bit weird. And move that up again, and then move it up like that. Then down again. And then stretch this out. Then back again. That's actually not bad, although I want there to be more of a curve. So here's what I'm looking at. I want this. This is actually fine the way it is. I got no issues over here. I want this curve to be a little bit better. And I think I may have to change the angle. I want it to be like from anywhere here, but I want it to end there. You know what I'm talking about? I want it to end at the corner. So let's see if I can achieve that. That would work right there. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so again, curve or straight line going down, but I wanted to curve for the next one. In fact, I wanted to curve a little bit. I wanted to take out a little bit from there. So the back one is a little bit lower than the front. So I'm going to group, Control G, and there we go. We now have the fish. Now, when you're printing this, just be aware that it's going to take some processing power because you have a lot of high density shapes here. And let's go ahead and center this. Click the letter L. I'm going to click on his body so it doesn't move, and then centered. This is looking too much like a shark, so I'm going to click over here and move this up. And don't forget to like, subscribe. Go ahead and tell me what you want me to design next time, because I am running out of ideas and I could always use more. So there you go, your flopper fish. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day.